Hey, what's up, book lovers? My name is Miriam and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to tell you about my favorite books of 2016. So 2016 was a pretty good reading year for me. I feel like I read a lot more in 2016 than I have in previous years, which I'm really proud of. And I read some pretty amazing things in 2016. These books are not necessarily books that came out in 2016, they're just books that I ended up reading and loving in 2016. So I have 12 books on this list and they are in order, and coming in at number 12 is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I just want to say that there are trigger warnings for this book for abuse, so just keep that in mind if you're thinking about picking this book up. This is Colleen Hoover's latest book, and I have read previous books by Colleen Hoover, didn't love them that much, didn't really understand the hype, and to be honest, I don't really think that it was the magnificent writing or the characters of this book that made this one of my favorite books of the year, but more of the content and what I learned from it. So basically, this book centers around Lily Bloom, who moves to Boston, and she's kind of trying to figure out her own path. And she meets this guy named Riley Kincaid. They kind of get into this relationship, which is surprising to her because he has a strong aversion to relationships. But then she runs into somebody from her past named Atlas, and that threatens to ruin everything. And something that I liked about the story was that I kind of had two perspectives. You have present Lily and past Lily through journal entries, and I really liked the journal entries, to be honest. That was my favorite part of the story. And like I said, the writing didn't really impress me that much. I'm not a huge fan of Colleen Hoover's writing, to be honest. A lot of it makes me cringe, but I do think that this is an important story that a lot of people can learn from, and that's why I really enjoyed it. Coming in at number 11 is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I read Red Queen and Glass Sword this year, and I absolutely loved them. I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars as well. So this book takes place in a fantasy world where you have two different types of people, the Reds and the Silvers. And the Reds are commoners, but the Silvers are these elite people that have these superpowers, and our main character, Mare, is a Red. What ends up happening is she ends up at the Silver Court and demonstrates that she has superpowers that she literally has never known that she had. And the Silvers kind of like freak out, so they claim that she's a long-lost Silver and get her engaged to a Silver Prince. While Mare is in this Silver Court, she ends up working with the Red Guard to bring down the Silver regime. I thought the concept of this world was so interesting, and I really enjoyed a lot of the main characters in this book, and I especially loved the social commentary in this book as well, and I am so excited for the third book to come out, The King's Cage, in February. Number 10 on this list is After You by Jojo Moyes. This is the sequel to Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, which I did also read in 2016, but I have to say that I loved After You a lot more than Me Before You. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I don't really want to say too much about this book because I don't want to spoil Me Before You, but it follows our main character in Me Before You after the events of whatever happens in that book, obviously. But I feel like this book has a much better tone for self-discovery, and I really like that, and I really just loved seeing where the main character went after the first book because I really enjoyed her character. Also, Jojo Moyes' writing is amazing, and I absolutely loved her style in this book, and that makes me just want to read more of her books in the future, so I'm really hoping to pick up another one of her books in 2017. This next book is a little controversial. A lot of people either love it or a lot of people either hate it, and I'm of the group of people who love it. So coming in at number 9 is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child by Jack Thorne and J.K. Rowling. If you don't know what Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is, it's been named kind of like the 8th Harry Potter story, but it's not really. It's just a play 19 years after the events of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I ended up giving this book 5 out of 5 stars, and I understand and I know why a lot of people don't like it, and I get the critiques and the problems and the issues with this book. When I first read this book, I absolutely loved it, and it was kind of like I was blind to all the problems, but after thinking about it for a bit, I can see all of the issues with this book, but I still love it. Like, I can't bring myself to not love it because I was once again in the Harry Potter world. I was once again immersed in a story that I had absolutely loved growing up, and it has such a special place in my heart. That emotional aspect I'm not detached from, so I absolutely still loved Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, but that is why it is a little bit lower on my list than I had thought it was going to be. When I first read this book, I was like, there's no way that anything's going to top this throughout the whole entire year, but after thinking about it for a bit, I can definitely see the problems with this book, but I still loved it. Coming in at number 8 is Illuminated by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I really enjoyed Illuminated, and I ended up giving giving it 5 out of 5 stars. This is a YA science fiction novel about our two main characters, Ezra and Katie, who end up breaking up right at the beginning of the novel, and their home, Carenza, is attacked by this big industry, and they're kind of forced to escape while the industry is trying to cover their tracks of the attack. So they're trying to still kill these people on this spaceship. I know that was a horrible description, but it's just so hard to explain this book. I don't know why. Even after reading it and reading the second book, I still have a hard time talking about exactly what Illuminated is about, but it's absolutely amazing. I love the way that this book is told. It's told through chats and letters and things like that, and it's really, really unique, and I absolutely love it for that reason. Unfortunately, I did not manage to finish the second book, Gemina, by the end of 2016. I finished it on like the first day of 2017, so I'm going to choose to put Illuminated on this list, but honestly, Gemina is legions above Illuminated, and I absolutely loved it. I just absolutely love how the story is told, and how even though I don't read that much science fiction, it kept me so enthralled in the story. It makes me want to read more science fiction, and I absolutely love the characters and the humor and the snark and all of the sass that is in this book. It's just amazing. So if you have not picked up Illuminated, I definitely think that it's worth the hype that it gets, so you should definitely check it out. So number 7 on this list is First and Then by Emma Mills. This is a YA contemporary that centers around our main character, Devin Tennyson, who's in her senior year of high school, and she doesn't really know what she wants to do with her life, which a lot of people I think can relate to. And her cousin ends up moving in with them, and this book kind of just follows their journey throughout the story. I really, really love this book for a lot of reasons. Number one, I loved that the romance in this book was not the main focus of the book. It developed in a really great way, and the family aspect was the main and center stage of this book, which I really enjoyed the relationship between Devin and her cousin, and I really loved how relatable Devin as a character was. I did have a few issues with this book, which is why I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars and not 5 out of 5 stars, but after finishing the book, it still stuck with me in a really strong way, and I kept thinking about it, and because of that, I really, really enjoyed and loved this book, and it's definitely one of my newest favorite YA contemporaries of all time. And I haven't really seen that many people talk about First and Then, so it's definitely really underrated, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I really hope that a lot more people end up picking up this book. Coming in at number 6 is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I know that this book was really hyped up on BookTube a while back, but I just ended up reading it in 2016, and it was phenomenal. Like, I am so enthralled and in love with this story, and I really, really would love to reread it again at some point, because I just want to see everything that I didn't see before. I don't want to say anything about this book because I don't think you can explain it without spoiling it. So just go into this book blind. I don't think that you'll be disappointed. The writing in this book is amazing. Like, it's so simple, but at the same time, so beautiful, and because of that, I really want to read more by E. Lockhart. Like, her writing is just amazing, and really, really loved it. So this book is definitely one that's going to stick with me for a long, long, long time. If you have not picked up We Were Liars, I definitely think that you should. So now we're going into the top 5 of 2016. Coming in at number 5 is Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. I kicked off 2016 with the Throne of Glass series. That was the first book that I actually read in 2016, and I spent all of January reading Throne of Glass series. Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Air of Fire, Queen of Shadows, and The Assassin's Blade. I read them back to back to back. And I have to say that I love Throne of Glass, and I definitely do enjoy the series. I feel like, though, Crown of Midnight was the best part of the series, and after that things started to kind of go down for me. I am not the biggest fan of Air of Fire. Queen of Shadows was pretty good. I definitely think that's my second favorite in the series. I loved the novella Bind Up. I loved all of the stories in there. I did not like Empire of Storms, so Crown of Midnight was the best part of the series for me, and I absolutely love Crown of Midnight so much. I wish the rest of the series was like this book. If you don't know what Throne of Glass is about, which I'd be surprised if you didn't, it's basically about this assassin named Selena Saradathian, and she's in this prison camp in this fantasy world where the king approaches her and says, if you compete in this competition to be my personal assassin, then I'll let you out of jail, basically. And that's where Throne of Glass starts off, but what the series is now is so different. It's unbelievable. But I loved all the characters in Crown of Midnight. I loved where the story was going in Crown of Midnight. And like I said, my favorite in the series, which is why it is on this list. So for number 4, I'm kind of cheating a little bit because I cannot choose just one book of this trilogy because I absolutely love this whole entire trilogy, and to me, not one of them was better than the other, so I'm going to include all 3 of them on this list for the number 4 spot, and that is The Winner's Trilogy by Marie Rutkoski. So the first book is The Winner's Kiss, the second book is The Winner's Crime, and the third and final book is The Winner's Kiss. And The Winner's Kiss did come out in 2016, but the other 2 did not. So The Winner's Curse is kind of a fantasy, but also historical fiction. I don't really know how to classify it as a genre. It doesn't have like any magic elements in it, but it also does not take place in our world. It takes place in this world that Marie Rutkoski created. And we follow our main character, Kestrel, who's the daughter's general, and the general wants her to either get married or join the military, and she doesn't want to do either of those things. One day, she ends up going to the slave market and buying a slave. Because in this fantasy world, there are slaves that exist from the conquered land, Haran, that the Valorians have conquered, and Kestrel herself is a Valorian. So there is this romance aspect in the book between Kestrel and the slave that she buys, and I loved that. It was absolutely beautiful and so subtle at the same time. Like, it was just amazing, and I love these characters and the story. Kestrel is one of my favorite female characters of all time. She's absolutely amazing. I love the way her mind works. She's not powerful physically, but powerful mentally, and I absolutely love that. Like, it was a breath of fresh air amongst all of these, like, strong female-wide protagonists who are super amazing when they fight, but Kestrel's not like that at all, and she's so different in that aspect, and I absolutely enjoyed that. There's also a lot of political intrigue in this book, so if that's something that you're into, I definitely recommend picking up The Winner's Trilogy. Coming in at number 3 is a book that a lot of people have loved and raved about this year, and that is, of course, A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. So Sarah J. Maas has 2 spots on this list because I read all of her books in 2016. This is the second book in Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Thorns and Roses series. So A Court of Thorns and Roses I liked, I didn't love, I didn't get the hype. This series takes place in a different fantasy world that is apart from the Throne of Glass series. It takes place in this land of Prythian where there are Fae, and the Fae and humans live separately, but one day Pharaoh goes out hunting and she accidentally kills a Fae. And because of that, she's given this ultimatum where she has to either die or she can go live in the Fae lands, where basically they say no human survives. It has Beauty and the Beast retelling elements in there, and this one has Hades and Persephone elements in it. I have to say that A Court of Mist and Fury blew A Court of Thorns and Roses out. A Court of Thorns and Roses was okay to me, but A Court of Mist and Fury I absolutely loved. It is so, so, so good. And I definitely want to say, though, that this series is new adult, not like Sarah J. Maas's other series, which is young adult. So keep that in mind if you're going into this series. The main thing for me with this book was the characters. The characters that we were introduced to in this book are absolutely phenomenal and some of my newest favorite characters of all time. Like, I absolutely love them, and I cannot wait for the third book to come out this year. I'm so excited, and I just hope that I'm not disappointed by this one. Now, number 2 on this list is, of course, Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. This is the first book in Cassandra Clare's newest trilogy, the Dark Artifices trilogy, which centers around this shadow hunter named Emma Carstairs, which we were introduced to in the Mortal Instruments, and I absolutely love this story. I don't know which of her series is my favorite. Like, I think Mortal Instruments is definitely at the bottom, but I can't tell if I like this more than I like the Infernal Devices. I just absolutely loved these characters so much, and the family dynamic in this book was amazing, and that is something that's so important to me. Like, when a book centers around family and it really talks about family, I absolutely love it. And I love that this time we didn't have to set up the world because we already knew it, and we were so familiar with it from the last 2 series, and at the same time, you still get more of the world. We still have more world building, and that's what I love. Like, there's still so much more to show in this world, which is why I never, like, ever want Cassandra Clare to stop writing the Shadowhunter world. Like, the Shadowhunter world is so rich and amazing, and I absolutely love everything about it, and I am so incredibly excited for Lord of Shadows to come out in May. I just cannot wait to get my hands on that book and just see what is next in this story. And my favorite book of 2016, now one of my favorite books of all time, is The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. I am in love with this story. Words can't even express my love for this book. I also did read The Rose and the Dagger this year, but I have to say The Wrath and the Dawn I enjoyed a lot more than The Rose and the Dagger. Not that I didn't like The Rose and the Dagger, but this one was phenomenal. I obviously gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. If you don't know what this book is about, this is a retelling of 1001 Nights, and we follow our main character Shahrazad, or Shazi, as she volunteers herself to be the bride of the king Khalid, who takes a bride every single night, but when dawn comes, she dies. So she ends up volunteering herself to be this bride because her best friend was one of the brides that Khalid killed. And she wants revenge for her best friend, so she wants to kill Khalid. Literally, I love Shazi so much. She's just absolutely amazing. Like, I think that she takes the 3rd spot for my favorite female characters of all time. Like, it's Hermione Granger, Sydney Sage, and Shazi. And the girl is just absolutely amazing. And I love all of the characters in this book. Like, all of the characters just so fleshed out. This book was just so beautiful, and the writing was amazing, and the story was beautiful, and I absolutely love it. Like, I could go on and on and on about why I love this book so much, and I just absolutely cannot wait for more from Renee Ahdieh. I know she has a book coming out in May. May is just going to be fantastic. We have 3rd book from A Court of Thorns and Roses, the next book in the Dark Artifices series. I get a new book from Renee Ahdieh. May just needs to come because I'm so ready for all of the new amazing books that I'm going to get in May. The Wrath and the Dawn definitely has to take the #1 spot this year. I've not felt this strong love for a book for a really long time since I've read like the Bloodline series way back in high school in like 9th grade. So it's books like this that remind me why I love reading so much. So I definitely feel like The Wrath and the Dawn is worth the hype that it gets, and if you haven't picked it up, I definitely recommend that you do. If I have reviews for any of these books, I will leave them linked down below. So those were all of my favorite books of 2016. Let me know what your favorite book of 2016 was. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time with a new video. Bye!